Hello and welcome to another video with the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. And yeah, this morning we're going to be talking about news that I typically don't cover. I usually don't cover when a player gets cut. I prefer whenever they're, going to a new team or perhaps a new deal, with their current team if they're a big time player. But yeah, I felt I had to cover this one due to a little while ago when I had posted my Isaiah Wilson trade, covering the details of the Dolphins and the Titans swapping seventh round picks and the Titans essentially giving the Dolphins Isaiah Wilson. And that video did very well, so I decided to follow up with this one and explain why the Dolphins have given up on Isaiah Wilson by essentially talking about his timeline since he's been in the NFL. And so since Isaiah's been in the league, looking back at his timeline, going back to December 17th of 2019 was when he declared that he was going to skip his senior year at the University of Georgia and enter the draft. And at this time, we didn't see all those red flags as to what we see now in terms of off the field. So I guess they did a good job of covering that up down there. But we didn't know about his habits, or at least it wasn't public as it is now. And then come April 23rd of 2020, and he was selected in the first round by the Tennessee Titans, 29th overall. And so, yeah, they brought him in with the intent of him competing for the right tackle spot. And by July 28th, training camp was open, and then Wilson was placed on the COVID list. And at that time, he was the only member of his draft class to not be currently signed on the team. But so far, no major red flag. So then August 3rd rolls around. He's off the COVID list. He signs his 4-year deal worth $11.57 million with nearly $6 million in guaranteed. So then he starts practicing with the team. Now, August the 15th of 2020 is when we really first start to see some of those red flags come into tuition here. Tennessee State University police issued a transport warning to Wilson after they broke up an on-campus party, which other attendees were cited for drugs, curfew violations, and attempts to flee. And the Titans said that they handled that internally. So then, but they probably figured, he made a bad call, maybe if they handle it internally, he'll change. And so September the 6th, he was placed on the COVID list again for a second time. And so after that, move forward a couple days after 9/11 of 2020, Wilson is arrested and charged with driving under the influence. And so they found out that there was there was alcohol in his blood that was well above the legal limit, and so he was released on $1,000 bond. And so October the 10th, after more than a month on the COVID list, Wilson returned to the active roster and is allowed to practice with his team, and so he gets so he gets to play for the first time since they've drafted him. And so it's looking like, okay, maybe they might start to get something for him. And so he makes his NFL debut on November 29th. In the game against the Indianapolis Colts, he played 3 snaps on offense, just 3 snaps, and one on special teams in a victory that they had against the Titans. And so I find that that right there is a really big red flag. If you're the first round pick and you only are playing 3 snaps in a game in which you're supposed to make your debate, yeah, something's going on. And so the team suspended him about a week later on December the 5th, and against the Cleveland Browns for a violation of a team rule. And then a few days later, he was placed on the non-football illness list. And yeah, they said he was dealing with some personal issues. So at this point in time, it seems like the Tennessee Titans knew that at this point, the kid was just, like a lot was going on with him at that time. And so February 16th, for whatever reason, they're saying that the player this fall that they thought they were getting wasn't the guy that they spent time with, last year. And, nobody knows. Well, this is what, Robinson said. But essentially, yeah, a lot of questions now. They're wondering because a couple days after that, Wilson had tweeted that he is done with the football as a Titan, and I remember when he tweeted that. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe he's just done with the team, take him to a new start. I was definitely one of those that thought that, okay, this trade with the Dolphins that took place on March the 8th was going to be really big for him in terms of being able to, get a fresh start. And I figured, and based upon what the Dolphins, traded for him, that also is why I liked the trade, simply because like you're just swapping seventh round picks here. So it's really very little risk. There's no financial risk in this type of trade. And so yeah, that's why I like the trade between the Dolphins and the Titans for that one. As for Tennessee, they just knew that at this point they were done as well. Like they figured there was nothing they could do to help them. Someone has to want help for you to help them. And so then he split the Dolphins, and then now we get these reports today where the Dolphins essentially are like, look, we're done. He doesn't want to help right now, and so they've cut him. And so the sad truth is he may not get a third chance with a team. He's only 22 years old. Just last year he was in the first round. So yeah, definitely shows why when it comes to the draft, they do take into account a lot of their personalities, their track records. Those red flags are very important. And so it's important to keep that in mind, especially with the upcoming draft coming. Although it's always great as a fan if you see your team in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round select a player that has first round potential. That always seems great until it isn't great, and then they become well, another sad story of what could have been, because the potential was definitely there, and it's still definitely there with Isaiah Wilson. And so hopefully he will find a way to get the help that he needs, and realize that there's a problem. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, thank you so much for joining for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. So definitely be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.